putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. There's a saying, whatever hysteria exists is inflamed by mystery, suspicion, and secrecy. Hard and exact facts will cool it. It was Elia Kazan. And what he was saying was, no matter what scandal is brewing, no matter what, hidden intent you had, hidden agenda that you had, the hard facts are going to go psst. So for the people who are saying, oh, these guys are hunting, they're looking for all the wrong things with this, we're saying it correctly. We're saying this Russian witch hunt is going to backfire. And it has. And now it's starting to spin. And the left are going, no, there was no malfeasance going on with the FISA courts and all that. And the hysteria that's coming around it is going to eventually cool. But it's going to cool in our favor. Because the hard and exact facts are going to cool it. See, what people are going to struggle with on the left is the fact that Barry Obama, their godsend, is an enigma. That's not a racial slam for you leftists that are listening to the program. And by the way, even if it were, I could say it because I'm authentically black. 79% to be specific. I've talked about how little America knows about Obama from records. But I've also talked about how much we know about Barack Obama from his actions. Even after leaving the White House, Obama remains cloaked in secrecy. His presidential library is not going to have all of his writings and his musings and so on. Supposedly, it's going to be like a bunch of digital stuff. He doesn't want you to have his notes. He doesn't want you to have his little doodlings that he's done, through the time he spent in the White House. What's up with that? It's a library, man. It's supposed to be the place where you can go, here's all my works. Here's what I was involved in the whole time. Let me tell you what it is. Barack Obama doesn't want you to know what he wasn't doing. He doesn't want you to know that he wasn't pulling the strings necessarily. Somebody else was doing it. He doesn't want you to see his emails. He doesn't want you to see the archive of a presidency. The first supposedly black president, half black, you would think he would want to be an open book. This is all I wish to accomplish. This is how I was able to do it. I bucked the system. I fought the law and the law didn't win. He doesn't want you to see it. Isn't that amazing? I mean, I keep talking to you guys about the most mundane things. 6th grade transcript when he was at a madrasa or wherever in the 3rd grade in Indonesia. Can you get any record of that? Can you get a record of his high school? Whatever. Everything about this guy sealed. I wish Trump would just say, you know what? We're opening all that crap up. You can see Barack Obama's this, that, and the other. What law is there that says you can't see somebody's grades? For example, if you want to get a job and they say, I'd like to see your transcript, can we go find out where he applied for a job and say, we'd like to see Barack Obama's transcript? It's not HIPAA. We're not talking about we're going to find out he's got some dreaded disease that Michelle gave him. I'm just saying, what do we got to do here? Doesn't want to tell you anything. And worse, he's secretive even about speaking in public, like he's some entertainer. He doesn't want his act shown on YouTube. You can't be bootlegging my speech. The audience might not come to the next show of Cirque du Freak. And this is what happened at MIT. You guys heard about Barack Obama's going to go speak in MIT Sloan School. And here's the story. I'll just read this to you. It was at Reason.com. On Friday, former President Barack Obama spoke for an hour to an audience of hundreds of people at a major sports policy conference at MIT. But his remarks were off the record and kept completely secret by virtually all attendees who had to agree that they would not record, photograph, tweet, or report on the event before being granted a seat in the audience. Reason obtained a recording of the speech. However, the most noteworthy thing about it is the simple fact that the public wasn't supposed to hear it. Now, this is a former president of the United States, by the way, who's still on our payroll, who still receives his $400,000 a year. All right. Or I don't know what they give him. Like maybe it's down to, they give him like $20,000 a month, I think, when they get out. But whatever the number is, he's still on our payroll. And he's going to give a public speech. And the stipulation is you can't record it. We don't want any. If you're in here, you're one of the good guys, you can't do it. We don't want you to hear anything. Don't let anybody in the rest of the world know what's going on in here. As if he's talking policy. He's at a sports policy conference. And yet, he doesn't want you to hear it. In his remarks, Obama expressed concern that Americans have segregated themselves into two entirely different realities, where not just opinions but basic facts are in dispute, claimed to have left office without a major embarrassing scandal, and proved that he really loves basketball. That's what he said. And so the man who undoubtedly attempted to thwart a U.S. election by targeting Donald Trump steadfastly contends he's done nothing wrong. The article continues in an attempt to understand the secrecy surrounding Obama's comments. And they said this: those were some of the highlights from his talk at MIT's Sloan Sports Analytics Conference on Friday. The event, attended by hundreds of sports industry professionals, journalists, and students, was cloaked in secrecy. Having listened to the entire thing, I'm not sure what all the secrecy was about. It was pretty standard fare for Obama, and he never once said the word Trump, though Obama did seem to imply that his White House was remarkably drama-free in contrast. The more you learn about Obama, the more you understand how full of crap he is. Yes, America, it's really that simple. Leftists hate it. They claim, when I say that, they claim I have some agenda, some, problem with his, Kevin, you're jealous or whatever else. It's none of that. It's none of that. What I can tell you without any, let's not draw it out here. Obama's full of crap. It's that simple. Here was one of the 5 takeaways from the meeting. They said, Obama thinks Google, Facebook, etc. are, quote, a public good as well as a commercial enterprise, and should consider whether they are corroding our democracy. He described social media platforms as a hugely powerful potential source for good, but then immediately hedged. What's also true is that our social media platforms are just a tool. ISIS can use that tool. Neo-Nazis can use that tool. I do think that large platforms, Google and Facebook, being the most obvious, Twitter and others as well, are part of the ecosystem, have to have a conversation about their business model that recognizes they're a public good as well as a commercial enterprise, not just an invisible platform. They're shaping our culture in powerful ways. Now, I suggest to Obama that leftists are far worse on social media than ISIS and all of the neo-Nazis combined. I've been a victim of them. I don't know if you guys know this. I don't know how much we talked about it, but my entire YouTube channel got shut down because we posted a video of Elizabeth Warren that's readily available. No commentary. Just, here's Elizabeth Warren lying. Some bots hit my site, and YouTube shut down my site. Now, Obama laments the fall of the fake news media. Here's what he says. Essentially, we now have an entirely different realities that are being created with not just different opinions, but with different facts. And it isn't just, by the way, the Russians inspired bots and fake news. This is Fox News versus the New York Times editorial page. If you look at these two different sources of information, they do not describe the same thing. In some cases, they don't even talk about the same thing. And it's so different, very difficult rather, to figure out how the democracy works over the long term in those circumstances. So what he's upset about is that the New York Times editorial page doesn't agree with Fox's editorial page. So in other words, Macy's and Dillard's have to sell the same product, or else it can't be considered news. It can't be considered legit unless they're selling the same product. But he goes a step further. He noted that in other countries like China, the government simply decides which viewpoints can be aired in public, but that's not who we are, and that's not the society I want to live in, he says. Even so, media giants like Facebook and Google should keep in mind that the U.S. government has a role to play in ensuring that there are basic rules of the road in place to create level playing fields. Now, this is the clown who knows that the playing field is unlevel in social media. He wants to compare what's happening right now to China, saying that the government just puts that information out on you. I tell you, Barack Obama knows that is exactly what's been happening to us. In fact, he did it himself. Obamacare is a perfect example where The powers that be said, this is what you're going to have. They finagled the Supreme Court in whatever way to essentially subvert the Constitution and pass something that we don't want. And now they strategize to keep us from repealing it. And I could go on. America was dangerously close to being just like China, where the government just tells you how it is, and that's the end of it.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.